A red, white, and super blue chip. 4th of July is coming up, Cody, and there will be fireworks because now we have the news that Felix Ojo, in addition to John Turntine, will be announcing their commitments on the 4th of July, Independence Day. So break out the hot dogs or the burgers, whatever it is, and we're going to be hearing from both those guys. And it's just such a massive day for the Longhorns because really we're talking about two players who won't, they're not going to redefine or they're not going to completely overhaul the Texas offensive line, but we're looking at a real turning point here in the 2026 recruiting class to be able to land both of these guys that sets the predicate for everything moving forward. And also, it kind of just sets the stage for what we're going to be looking at, maybe not as early as 2026, but possibly as early as 2026, but certainly for the plans down the road, as early as 2026 or 2027.
I mean, what you're really talking about here is, the one question mark that you can't really fix today, but that we've talked about with Emmanuel Pregnon and Pat Coogan and these guys that Texas, peeked their head in the portal this past winter. That was to protect Arch Manning. The whole conversation around Turntine and Ojo, unless you really expect one of these two guys to come in, literally in 250 days and all of a sudden assert themselves in the starting lineup, which is possible, but unlikely, especially if Trevor Gooseby returns and things of this nature. What you're really talking about is creating one of the best offensive lines Texas has had in, what would you say, 2 decades? If you could potentially get a Felix Ojo with a John Turntine, you have Brendan Baker for at least another year or two, Andre Kojas, like you have all these guys that can continue to grow in the program, Nick Robertson, Max Wright. You have all these things that could potentially create one of the better offensive lines Texas has seen in a better part of 2 decades to protect Diabell and to continue this thing. And this is just part of the growing process to becoming, not only resurfacing yourself, or we're saying Texas is back, or being the blue blood in the room, but really creating that Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State feel on a year-to-year basis. Is if you can do it in the trenches, you can do it anywhere.
Well, I think it's interesting to me because I didn't. You guys have heard me say that after the Rivals 5-star, it wasn't anything where it's like I've completely changed my ranking on Felix Ojo. I think that they're probably going to do it because that's what Rivals does. But I did come out of it thinking there's a better chance. There's a better chance, I think, now that he's probably not going to come in 100% ready to go and start at left tackle. It's a hard thing to do, right? I'm wondering with Turntine that if you watch his tape, you could tell, man. I mean, I think that Turntine actually, as crazy as it sounds, I kind of like Turntine's huddle reel better than I like Ojo's. What really made me fall in love with Ojo was getting to see the clips of him in those camp settings, hearing from what people were saying behind the scenes from those kinds of things. Then I go and see it with my own 2 eyes. It was underwhelming. And I got to thinking, okay, well, Turntine, I can actually go back to the tape and watch it. I think maybe he could be more ready to go and play as a freshman, especially if he comes in and they talk him into maybe playing inside. Do you think both? I guess we're going to get recruitment quotes from them and commit quotes if they do both come to Texas. I wonder if he's going to say, no, they're recruiting me as the next, I want to come in and be the next Kelvin Banks. I want to be, the offensive tackle taken in the top 10 or top 11, whatever the case was with him. Or do you say like, well, I mean, let's look here at 2026. You have Nato Yamusalo, who probably by then is going to be will he be the as far as the interior guys, he'll be the most tenured. And he what is he? Was he played 80 snaps in his career?
Him and Connor Robertson
so far? No. Oh, sure. So Connor Robertson has played more snaps, right? So Nato, Connor Robertson. But then you just look at guys like, well, there's Connor Stroh, there's Nate Kibble, who we've heard nice things about, Daniel Cruz, who was a guy coming in that people thought was pretty safe. Obviously, he'll be playing center. But then, we don't know guys like Jackson Christian, Devin Coleman, Jordan Coleman. These guys, it feels like there's a lot of runway there. If a guy like Turntime we're able to come in and sort of show his wares from the very beginning. We're talking about a 2026 class that could have Gooseby coming back, right? We've heard from behind the scenes some people say that Gooseby's, he's really thinking about coming back unless he's some kind of top 10 pick or whatever. And then you'll have another year Brandon Baker there at the tackles. That's going to be hard to bust into. I wonder if Turntine, if they were able to manage landing both of these guys, might come in and play right guard.
I wouldn't put it past him. I mean, Turntine's shown his growth, his maturity. The tape, obviously, we've talked about it a year ago. As soon as Fasusi was kind of yeah, that's not going to happen. It was all right. Turn the attention to John Turntine. And I know this winter we talked a lot about Turntine, dropping in 365 days from 311 pounds to 268, and we're making jokes and stuff. But we know who John Turntine is. He's a stud of an offensive lineman, period. And I think it's a guy that, who it doesn't really matter where you put him. I think you just put him in that room, and there's going to be a spot that eventually he grows into. And even though he was 268 pounds back in February for a powerlifting meet, like, I fully believe this kid's going to be 280 plus going into the football season, and it's going to be good weight, and he's going to continue to put that weight on. And if he was 311 a year and a half ago, we know he can play at 311. We know he can move around at 311. He can lift, he can run. Like, he can hold that weight already. And hypothetically, if you walked into Texas University or University of Texas,
you don't want to say that.
I know I said it wrong.
Yeah.
And you walked in there at 311 pounds, hey, nobody's batting an eye at a 6'3", 311-pound offensive lineman. I think John Turntine on Friday is as much of a must get as Felix Ojo is.
No, it's just it's the package of the two. Just a monster 4th of July for sure. A monster acquisition by the Man Eye Institute that is our presenting sponsor here on Orange Bloods Live. Whenever they were able to bring you the first next level LASIK in all of Texas and only the second in the entire country. That's, of course, the next level LASIK that uses the Wavelight Plus LASIK technology. This is not your grandparents' LASIK. Make sure and give the Man Eye Institute a call if you've been looking into this stuff. Their phone number is 844-WOW-2020, 844-WOW-2020. I believe that with the three or four locations here, just locally, super easy to get to, super easy to reach, great people there. And the reason that we're doing this show is because of the Man Eye Institute. So thanks so much to those guys, as well as our great sponsors like Specs, like Texas Beef Traders, who you see here, Texas Beef Traders, TexasBeefTraders.com right there in Lakeway. Make sure and check them out. Get your 10% off when you mention Orange Bloods Live. Cody, anything on Jamarian Carlton, who is going to be announcing his commitment now on July 10th? What really perked up my ears is that I heard in passing yesterday Jason Sukamel saying that he was planning on being in attendance for the ceremony. My ears perk up when I hear that kind of stuff out of Jason. Do you have any leans on how this one might go?
That's obviously a big positive. I know Jason put up a piece today about Carlton, and Carlton talked about having a relationship with Lee Allen Clark for the last couple of years, and he's a good dude. He's trained a bunch of people he knows that know ball. Obviously, Daniil Hunter's been conversed in that conversation, but among the teams, Baylor, Texas Tech, LSU, and Texas. About Texas, he said, I really just feel like I can get developed there. It's SEC ball, so a good path to the NFL. And, of course, that's always what you want to hear about a guy. But, again, close to home, Temple, Texas. It's definitely been an interesting recruitment for Jamarian Carlton, where it was like Texas and then it was like quiet, at least on the media side. And now it's back full-blown into Texas, and it makes sense when you're competing against Baylor and Texas Tech for a high-end top 50 recruit.
Do you feel good about bringing in an edge combo this year of Richie Wesley and Jamarian Carlton?
Yes. I love Lance Jackson. And Smith Orogbo is damn good. But Jamarian Carlton and Richard Wesley, that takes the cake.